So now let's go and create a list partition. All this is doing is similar to the example, except that I'm dividing up states based on California, Oregon, Washington as being partition West Coast, the same East Coast, Southeast, etc., etc. So let's go and create this partition. And there's my partition created. And let's go and examine the original table and see what it does. And it does a full table access, reading 178 rows. And now I'm actually going to cause it to execute on multiple partitions in parallel, reading the same data as I read before. So it's assuming that California and Nevada are in two separate partitions. Even though I don't have multiple CPUs on this box, all it's telling me is that it's actually looked at two different partitions, it's accessed the table in full, and the cost is lower because the optimizer is assuming that it's running in parallel. Also note it's only read 3 rows and a lot fewer bytes. Now I'm going to create a hash partition simply by creating a table as before, defining it as hash, and splitting the hashed values into 4 separate partitions. And that's very simple. You can use hash partitions when you don't know the content of data and it's unpredictable. In other words, you don't know how many rows are going to go into each partition, and you need to divide it up equally. Here's another partition which is actually a combination range hash, so creating range on date and then sub-partition by show ID. So I'm simply going to create this partition, and that's all I'm going to do with it. And the last example is a range list, which is basically separate ranges with lists within the ranges, and that partition is created as well. One more thing you should actually do is you should always be analyzing statistics for new objects created in order for the optimizer to get accurate pictures of what's going on. I'm not going to worry about that because we already know that. If I want to clean up, I could simply drop the table spaces to avoid dropping all the individual partitions. I'm not going to do that at the moment.